You know the moment. It's late, your phone lights up, not a real message, just a like, a view. Maybe they watched your story within seconds. Maybe they sent something small, cold, almost casual, and now you're staring at the screen trying not to spiral. What does that mean? Why now? If they're done, why are they still here? Am I reading too much into this again? Or is this actually something? Here's the truth most people will never tell you. Avoidants usually don't come back with a dramatic confession. They come back in fragments, in signals, in controlled little moments that let them feel close without fully risking closeness, and you're not crazy for noticing it. This isn't you being desperate. This isn't you being broken. Most guys feel exactly this, man, and nobody ever explains what's actually happening underneath it. By the end of this video, you're going to know the 5 signs an avoidant shows when they're already moving back toward you emotionally, what each sign really means, and most importantly, how to read it without losing your grounded center. Let's get into it. Most guys believe if an avoidant wants you back, they'll just say it. But the real truth is, that's usually not how avoidant energy works at all. An avoidant doesn't just deal with missing you, they deal with what missing you activates in them. Vulnerability, exposure, emotional dependence, the feeling of needing something they can't fully control. So while most guys are watching for obvious words, she's moving through something much more subtle. She senses the pull before she can explain it. Her energy shifts before her language does. Her guard softens in tiny moments before it drops in a big one. That's why the signs are often quiet, not loud, not dramatic, not movie scene romantic, but real. And here's the part nobody talks about. The avoidant comeback almost never starts with courage. It starts with curiosity. It starts when distance no longer feels like relief. It starts when silence stops protecting her and starts haunting her. That's when her gut begins whispering, maybe I'm not as over this as I thought. That's when attraction begins to reawaken. Not because you chased harder, not because you forced closure, but because her emotional system started feeling your absence in a different way. So if you know how to read the behavior underneath the behavior, you stop panicking, you stop guessing, and you start seeing the pattern. Number 1, the controlled reach out. This is the one most guys completely miss. Most guys think if she sends a dry text, reacts to your story, or asks some random low-stakes question, it means nothing. They brush it off or they overreact instantly. But both reactions miss what's really going on, because the deeper truth is this. Avoidants often test reconnection in the safest way possible. She doesn't want to cannonball into emotion. She wants to dip a toe in and see if the water is safe. She wants contact without pressure, proximity without full exposure. Her brain is protecting her, but her feelings are pulling her closer. So instead of "I miss you," you get, "Hey, did you ever end up going to that place you mentioned?" Instead of a heartfelt paragraph, you get a meme, a reaction, a small excuse, something that technically means little, but emotionally means a lot. The wrong move sounds like this. "Why are you texting me now? Do you miss me or not?" The right move sounds like this. "Yeah, I did. It was solid, actually. You'd probably like it." See the difference? One response demands clarity. The other leaves space. One makes her feel cornered. The other makes her feel calm enough to keep leaning in. Not neediness, not coldness, not fake indifference. Grounded openness, quiet presence. The kind of energy that says, "I'm here, but I'm not chasing." And when you do that, she feels safe approaching you without feeling trapped. Number 2, she finds reasons to stay in your orbit. And here's where it gets interesting. Most guys think post-breakup presence only matters if it's direct. But with an avoidant, indirect attention is often the first real signal. She watches your stories fast. She suddenly becomes active where you are. She comments on something minor. She pops up in places that keep the thread alive without forcing intimacy. Why? Because avoidant attachment doesn't kill feeling. It just makes feeling hard to tolerate. So when she misses you, she often manages that tension by staying near you without fully stepping into the fire. She wants connection with an exit door nearby. That's why her behavior can feel confusing. She may not say, "I want to talk," but her actions are saying, "I'm not ready to disappear from your world." A lot of guys mishandle this by performing harder. They post for her. They get strategic. They turn their whole vibe into bait, and instantly the energy gets off. Because now she feels your emotional hook underneath everything. Your energy is the message before your mouth even opens. If your presence says, "Please notice me," her gut feels the pressure. If your presence says, "I'm good, I'm real, I'm grounded," her brain starts whispering, "Why does he feel different now?" Wrong approach. Posting thirst traps, fake glow-up captions, little jealousy games. Right approach. Living visibly, but genuinely. Sharing your life without angling every move toward her attention. Because conversation isn't a performance, and your online presence isn't a courtroom where you prove your worth, it's a window. That's it. When she feels your life has movement, calm, and real direction without you trying to sell it, that becomes magnetic. And that's when she starts replaying your absence in a very different way. Number 3. Her tone gets warmer before her words get clearer. This is huge, bro. Most guys listen only to content. But women, especially avoidant women, reveal so much more through emotional texture. The timing, the softness, the extra question, the little bit of playfulness that wasn't there before. That's where the truth leaks out. Most guys miss this because they're scanning for certainty. They want a clean sentence, a clear confession, a perfect sign. But the real signal usually comes first in the vibe. She feels less defended, less clipped, less emotionally sealed off. Her energy shifts before her explanation does. Maybe she starts using your name again. Maybe her replies get longer. Maybe she teases you a little. Maybe a conversation that should have died in 2 texts somehow keeps going. That matters. Because warmth is risk for an avoidant. Softness is exposure. Emotional tone is intimacy in miniature, so when that tone returns, it usually means the wall is not as solid as it was. Wrong version, you text, "How have you been?" She says, "Good, busy." Right version, later in the process, you text, "You still surviving over there?" She says, "Barely. I need better life management skills apparently." That little playfulness, that tiny opening, that matters more than most guys realize. Here's the part nobody talks about. She may still act casual while internally thinking, "Why does talking to him feel easy again?" Or, "Why do I feel calmer than I expected?" Or even, "I wasn't supposed to miss this." Silence between words is like silence between musical notes. That's where the rhythm lives. The shift is often not in what she says. It's in how she feels while saying it. And when you catch that, without forcing it bigger than it is, she feels understood instead of handled. Number 4. She starts referencing the bond, the past, or your emotional imprint. But here's what changes everything. Most guys think nostalgia is just nostalgia. They assume she's bored, lonely, or just being nice. And sure, sometimes that's true. But when an avoidant starts bringing up shared memories, inside jokes, old routines, or emotionally loaded moments, it often means your connection is becoming emotionally alive in her again. Why does that matter? Because avoidants suppress by disconnecting from feeling. So when specific memories resurface, especially voluntarily, it usually means the emotional file on you is no longer sealed shut. Her mind is reopening what her defenses tried to archive. Maybe she says, "I drove by that coffee place you liked." Maybe she sends a song. Maybe she references a trip, a joke, a little thing only you two would understand. That's not random. That's emotional breadcrumbing from someone who's feeling the bond before they're ready to fully admit it. Most guys ruin this by turning it into a negotiation. "Oh, so now you miss me? Then why did you leave? Are we getting back together or not?" Too much. Too fast. That instantly pulls her out of memory and throws her back into threat. A better response sounds like this. "Haha, I forgot about that. That day was chaos." Or, "Yeah, that song still hits. Not gonna lie." See what that does? You meet the moment. You don't squeeze it. You let the connection breathe. You allow the emotional memory to stay warm instead of turning it into pressure. Not interrogation, not bitterness, not forced closure talk, just calm recognition, real presence, the kind that lets her feel the connection without feeling consumed by it. And when you do that, she starts feeling that the bond with you might actually be safe to revisit. Number 5, she creates emotional openings, then watches how you handle them. This is the final one, and this is the sign that matters most. Most guys think an avoidant coming back looks like certainty, but usually it looks like vulnerability wrapped in ambiguity. Small disclosures, random honesty, tiny cracks in the armor. Maybe she admits she's been stressed. Maybe she tells you something personal she didn't need to share. Maybe she hints that dating hasn't felt right. Maybe she says something like, "I've been thinking a lot lately." That may sound small, but emotionally, it's massive. Because what she's really doing is this. She's checking whether you're still the same version of you she had to protect herself from, or whether you've become someone more grounded, more calm, more emotionally safe. Her nervous system is asking, if I open this door a little, will he rush in? Will he make me regret it? Or will he meet me there like a man? And here's the thing, that moment decides everything. Wrong response. What do you mean by that? Are you saying you want me back? Just say it. Right response. Sounds like you've had a lot on your mind. Or, yeah, I get that. Some things hit later than you expect. That kind of response does something powerful. It doesn't force, it doesn't chase, it doesn't perform, it holds like a grounded frame around an emotional moment. And that's rare, man. Really rare. Her inner monologue in that moment becomes, he's not pulling at me. Then, he feels calm. Then, maybe I can actually talk to him. That's emotional caffeine for her brain. Because safety plus tension is what creates real reattraction. Not tactics, not scripts, not trying to win. Just grounded masculine presence that lets her feel without being overwhelmed. And when you handle her opening like that, she feels the possibility of return without the fear that usually shuts her down. So let's land this. This was never about obsessing over signs. It was about learning to see what most guys are blind to, the controlled reach out, the orbiting, the warmer tone, the nostalgia, the emotional openings. None of those things are random when they show up together. They're usually the early language of someone whose feelings are moving back before their words fully catch up. And more importantly, this isn't about becoming a better decoder. It's about becoming the kind of man who doesn't panic when emotion gets subtle. The kind of man who can read the moment without chasing it. The kind of man whose calm is more powerful than another guy's effort. Because this isn't a trick. This is who you're becoming. When you internalize this, you stop trying to force clarity and start becoming someone who can hold uncertainty without collapsing. And that changes everything, not just with avoidance, with women, with dating, with your whole mindset. So remember this line. If an avoidant comes back in fragments, don't chase the pieces. Become the man steady enough to let them form a picture. And if you want the next step, watch the video on how to respond when an avoidant finally reaches out, because knowing they're coming back is one thing. Knowing how not to ruin it is the real power.